How much of a challenge is it going to be to establish the run game against, obviously, a very talented defensive front?
It's hard every week to establish a run game, and that's, the goal. And that's kind of how the NFL is morphing to. A lot of teams are going to that run game. So, when a defense knows it's coming, whether they got superstars in their front seven or not, it's always a difficult task, but it's one we pride ourselves on at being really good at it. So, it's every week, it's the task at hand, and we just got to get it done.
What's been the difference for you guys the last few weeks trying to get more of that consistency in the run game?
I think the practices, we've been proving it in practice that we're executing the game plan. If you're in practice and you're not performing the game plan up to expectations, it's hard to give a coach some confidence in your run game. So, we've been doing everything we can, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to make sure that the confidence is there. And once we get that confidence built, then it's a lot easier for LaFleur to be confident and calling those plays.
You guys have had some different running backs have success. Why is that happening? Obviously, Michael Carter showed a lot of ability, but last week you still had that success. So is that about the system? Is it about the blocking? Is it about the back? Why do you think that is?
It's a little bit of everything. This system is built on a guy that makes the right reads and is fast. So, as long as a running back can hit the hole and read the defense right, and obviously the blocking, makes their reads easy, it allows a lot of people to be successful. And, Walter's had a lot of success when he was here in the past. So, he's always a guy that would have flashes in practice. So, once he got into a game, everybody was confident that he would have those same flashes. And we have our running back room is, extremely talented all across the board. So, to have him go out and have a game like that was awesome.
It was a play in the last game, I think Walter gained 12 or 13 yards, and it looked like the perfect zone blocking play where everyone pushed to the left and he cut to the right. Is that kind of like the quintessential zone blocking kind of play? Yeah,
whether he cuts back or keeps it front side, it all depends on what the defense is going to give you. Is kind of how that zone scheme's set up. If we start hitting the cutback a lot, they'll start playing for the cutback, and then you hit one front side. And honestly, when that happens and you get them you hit one in like the front side, those are normally the huge runs. Those are MC had one 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, and he got tackled on the 2-yard line or whatever, but that hit front side. And a lot of times, for the defense to beat the zone scheme, they want to obviously take away the front side, so then the cutback just happens. But once they bite on that cutback and you keep that front side, and that's where the really big ones come.
LaFleur said that one of the things he thinks Zach did well against the Texans was before the snap, the pre-snap stuff. Just how much easier does that make your job as he progresses, and how much does that have to do with the offense functioning at a higher level?
It's huge. Those are high-stress situations, so it's not easy. The pre-snap stuff, you would think is pretty easy because you're just, either repeating what LaFleur is saying or, you practice it all the time. But, there's a lot of information that needs to get to a lot of people in a short amount of time. So that's something that, especially every week Zach gets better at, and as his career he just gets better at. You see guys like Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, they're incredibly good quarterbacks with how they throw the ball and stuff, but where they get really special is that before the snap, whether it's messing with cadence or making the special checks to take advantage of the look the defense is giving you, and making sure everybody's on the same page and communication's crisp and clear. And that's kind of, from what I've seen in the NFL, that's what separates the young quarterbacks from the older ones. Like Zach's arm talent is through the roof. It's just, he's a young player, and that just gets better and better every week. And I think he's really showed that he has the ability to get to that level and the way that he's shown growth. So, he'll, and when we were in Green Bay, that's what he was really trying to, from what I noticed, he was really trying to learn from Aaron, was how to handle that, outside the whistles, I guess you could say, aspect of quarterbacks. It's a part of the game that really you could take advantage of in the NFL, and brings you from a good quarterback to an elite quarterback. So I've seen a lot of growth in him in that, and expect every day.
Speaking of rookies, Elijah Vera Tucker, there's probably three, 4, 5 wow plays every game. What are you seeing as the guy next to him, and what are your thoughts on the season he's having?
I think I've spoken about him a lot when I come up here because he is such a special player. You know, he's a guy that's going to be a really good player in this league for a long time. I remember we saw it day one at OTAs, just the way he bends, his hip rolls, athleticism, his size, his strength. He's, you know, if you're going to probably build an offensive guard in a lab, it'd look like AVT, and just the fact that he has the mental ability to back that up, and the drive and the want to be a great player with all of his what he's already done is awesome. So to have that's how you really, I don't know the best, but that's how like old linemen become famous, I guess, in the NFL, right? Like you could be a solid player and do your job every play and grade out well, but to be an elite guy and get all the Pro Bowl votes and all that kind of stuff, and get in the top 100 and all that. That's when those big you're pulling and you get a big knockout block, or you have a huge drive block and you just bury a guy, and that's what really takes your game to the next level and makes you elite and what you'd call a tone setter, and he's definitely starting to become that, and like I've said before, he's going to be a really good player for a really long time. He has a ton of potential, and he's but it's not untapped. He's hitting his potential, and he's keep growing. So
on the other side of the ball, Quinnen's gotten some recognition in the Pro Bowl voting. You've obviously got a chance to see him up close for the last 2 years. What is it that makes him the player he is? Yeah,
he's also elite. We have an elite defensive line, but Quinnen himself, he can either beat you with power or speed, and that's what makes a D lineman great, is one that's dynamic. Like somebody might be one side that one really good move, but once you kind of figure that out, you can beat them. But Quinnen can beat you with power. He can beat you with speed. He has really good quickness with his hands, and he has a full arsenal of moves. He's not either like, there's some guys that are like a bull rush or a rip guy, or they're a bull rush or a swim. Quinnen does it all: bull rush, long arms, swims, rips. He's really mastered the whole gambit of techniques. So that's what makes him elite, and he's a heck of a guy to try to block for sure.
You have a couple big challenges inside with the guards, with two of the better defensive tackles in football, Hargraves and Cox. What kind of challenge do those guys present?
That's kind of the heart of their defense. It's when they're kind of like our team. Their team runs through their D line, and when their D line's playing really, really well, they're playing really well as a team. So that's the biggest challenge this week, and our biggest obstacle that we know that we have to the biggest challenge we have to overcome and really handle is that defense line. And we've been practicing for it all week, and we got some really good guys on scout team that kind of built like those guys. So it's we've been getting a lot of good looks, and but we know that that's probably our biggest challenge as an offensive line is handling that.
I know you don't face him per se, and you're having a good season yourself, but when you look at Kelsey,
yep,
a center that's been doing it for a long time, you probably study him a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure. What Kelsey does is pretty spectacular. Not a lot of guys can play like him. He's so quick and athletic, but he also has that power behind him. He's very explosive at like point of contact and stuff. He's a fun player to watch because you want to talk about a guy that gets like highlight blocks. When he's pulling around, he's looking to take somebody's head off every play. His reaching. He's not the biggest center by any means, but he's definitely probably the quickest, and he brings a lot of explosion when he gets to that point. So he's definitely a fun guy to watch, and a guy that I've watched a lot in my career.
With LDT, just him working in the middle of the season, what is that like? What's the challenge in that for you, and then what has he brought to the table?
I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he might have the biggest hands I've ever seen on an individual. I remember it was like first practice, he'd just like set and punch somebody, and I could just hear the punch on the pass pro. So he's obviously a very physical player, very smart. He's brought just same. I mean, we have this has been the best offensive line room I've been around. I think, skill wise, and just personalities. There's no one odd man out. There's no like two guys here, these two hang out. Like everybody hangs out together. We like to be around each other. That cohesion that you always talk about at the start of the season is really good in our room. But when you go to bringing a newer guy in during the middle of the season, just trying to figure out how he's going to play different things is always going to be the challenge with a guy that hasn't been starting with you since camp. And we didn't have a ton of rotation in camp. We all were, especially on the inside, relatively healthy and got a lot of snaps together. So it's been a little different, but he's an extremely smart guy, being a doctor and all, and so it hasn't been a huge adjustment to trying to figure out how he plays blocks, because he's really trying to do everything the way it's taught, and if you're doing everything the way it's taught, it'll be as close as it can between two players. So it's been pretty good. He just brings another physical guy that's smart, which this whole room's a bunch of really smart guys that know what they're doing. So it's been a fun year to be part of this room, and I keep growing with these guys.